You can teach a vampire to speak like a human being, smile like a sage, and dress like an angel, but the moment it sees and sniffs blood, instinct takes control. Its disguise collapses. The same goes for narcissists. They can pretend to be kind, intelligent, or even spiritual, but there are brief moments when their mask completely falls apart and you see what they really are: dark, hollow, and hungry for supply. I'm Danish, narcissistic abuse recovery professional. Today's episode is all about uncovering 5 moments when the narcissist's true self comes to light. Number one, when they accidentally laugh while pretending to cry. This is my personal experience. One of those moments I can never forget. You are standing there, right? Maybe even feeling bad for them, and suddenly, in the middle of their fake sobbing, you catch it, a tiny smirk, a flash of amusement. They try to bury it very quickly, but it's too late. You have seen it and you have seen how fake it is. That accidental laugh exposes everything. It shows that their emotions were never real, never felt, that every tear was calculated. Narcissists do not feel sadness the way you do, normal people do. They mimic it, they perform it. Their crying is never about pain, it's all about control. They use tears as a weapon to disarm you and reset the power dynamic and to make you feel guilty for standing up for yourself. When they laugh in the middle of that act, what slips out is their contempt. It is the predator inside them getting excited because they think they have tricked you again. But what they do not realize is that once you have seen that glitch, you can never unsee it. The illusion breaks. You start recognizing the pattern, theatrical emotions, crocodile tears, and instant recoveries. It becomes impossible for you to fall for that crap again. In that accidental laugh, you witness the truth. What is that? The narcissist does not grieve. They don't feel any remorse. They feel pleasure in your empathy. They get high on your compassion because it makes them feel powerful. That's why their breakdowns are always so rehearsed. They don't cry because they're broken. They cry because they are losing control over you. Which brings us to number two. When they forget which version of the story they told you last. This moment usually happens in the middle of a casual conversation. You're talking, not even trying to catch them, and suddenly they contradict something they said before. The story changes, the details shift. The timeline does not add up anymore. For a second, they freeze. Their eyes dart sideways as if searching their mental file cabinet for which lie they told you. That is the split second when you see the real narcissist, the liar beneath the confidence, the person who is constantly rewriting history to fit the narrative that keeps them in control. They do not remember their lies. Why? Because their lies are not anchored in truth. They speak in whatever way gets them what they want in the moment. When you catch them in this illusion, they do not panic the way a normal person would. They go blank and then instantly flip the story again. They may accuse you of remembering wrong, or they will pretend they were joking, or they will change the subject altogether. It's like watching someone literally reboot their system in real time. What's so fascinating is how revealing it is. When they forget their own script, you realize how much of their identity is manufactured. Every version of their story was tailored for manipulation, one for pity, one for superiority, another for innocence. The real person behind it all does not even exist anymore. They have liked so much that even they can't tell what is real. That's an irony. That's why narcissists are terrified of being questioned. They know the web of lies will collapse under the slightest pressure. Truth is their biggest enemy. Why? Because it destroys the entire performance they have built around themselves. That brings us to number three, when they pretend to be weak and fragile to make you let go of the anger that would otherwise completely expose them. This is their master stroke, I'm telling you. The narcissist senses that you have been reaching your breaking point and you're about to confront them or hold them accountable. And just before you do, they crumble. They suddenly look lost, confused, or helpless. Their voice softens. They may say things like, I know I'm not perfect, or please don't leave me like everyone else did. They know what they're doing. It is a manipulation dressed as vulnerability. The timing is never random. They do it exactly when you start to see through them. It's like pulling a fire alarm before the truth sets the whole building on fire. They want to interrupt your anger, not with logic or accountability, but with guilt, because they know that if you start feeling pity, you will stop feeling power. This performance of weakness is their escape hatch. It buys them sympathy. It makes you feel cruel for calling them out. And just like that, your righteous anger, your emotional clarity turns into self doubt. You start wondering if you overreacted. You may even apologize to them for no reason. But once the danger has passed, what happens? The mask drops again. The fragility disappears and the same arrogance that you hate returns. That's when you realize the weakness was never real. It was bait. They were playing the victim so you would not expose the villain. This is one of the most dangerous moments in a narcissistic relationship because it teaches you to distrust your emotions. You start suppressing your anger, boundaries, basically your truth. Why just avoid hurting their feelings? Over time, that suppression turns into guilt, and guilt is exactly what keeps you trapped. When you stop falling for their fake weakness, they panic because without your empathy, I'm telling you, they lose their shield. The act of being fragile only works when you still care. Once you stop reacting, the manipulation becomes useless. And that is when their real cruelty surfaces. Number four, where they stop being nice the minute they feel they're not getting what they were being nice for. Typical. Narcissists don't do kindness out of goodness, they do it as a transaction. Every compliment, favor, affectionate gesture comes with a silent condition attached. They are nice because they expect a return. What could be that? Obedience, attention, validation, something. And the moment they sense they're not getting it, the niceness vanishes. It is shocking the first time you see it. You think everything is fine, and suddenly they're cold, dismissive, or outright hostile. The shift feels instant. One moment they are flattering you, the next moment they're punishing you with what? Silence or criticism. That is because their niceness was never about love, it was a contract, and you unknowingly broke it. In that moment, their true self emerges, comes to the surface. You see the entitlement, the conditional nature of their affection. You realize that kindness was never a gift, it was a lure. They were feeding you just enough warmth to keep you hooked, just enough sweetness to keep you chasing more. This switch is what makes narcissists so dangerous. They know how to use charm as currency. They invest kindness like a loan and they expect emotional repayment with double interest. When that payment does not come, they retaliate. That is when the emotional debt collection begins. Sarcasm, guilt trips, or cold withdrawal. What exposes them is not their cruelty, but their speed. A normal person's disappointment takes time to show. A narcissist's disappointment erupts the instant they stop getting what they want. Their emotional mask does not fade, it falls off. For the first time, you get to see the emptiness behind it, the self serving nature that was there all along. Once you recognize that pattern, their charm stops working. You stop interpreting their niceness as love, and that is when the whole cycle starts to crumble. Number five, when they start mimicking you mid argument to subtly mock you, but you catch it. This is one of the most diabolical and psychologically unsettling moments because it feels almost childlike at first. You're trying to explain your feelings, maybe even pouring your heart out, and they start copying your tone, words, or your expressions. Sometimes they repeat what you just said, but with a sarcastic twist. It's mockery disguised as conversation. What they are doing is testing your emotional control. They want to throw you off balance. By mimicking you, what are they doing? They are saying, look how ridiculous you sound. It is their way of minimizing your pain and invalidating your voice without saying it directly. Narcissists do not know how to engage in real dialogue because that would require empathy and a lot of self reflection. So instead, they mirror and distort. They imitate emotion, rather feel it. But the deeper layer is this is more than an insult, it's also a projection. In that moment, they're unconsciously showing you who they really are: reactive, defensive, and emotionally premature or primitive. The more calm and grounded you remain, the more frantic their mimicry becomes. They need you to lose control so they can regain power. When you refuse to react, when you keep your composure and say nothing, they get exposed because the mocking stops working. The silence throws them into discomfort. Without your reaction to feed on, they're forced to sit with their own emptiness, and that is something they cannot handle. This moment is a psychological mirror. It shows that narcissists have no real self. They're always borrowing fragments of others. Your tone, words, emotions, all of it to maintain a sense of identity. When they mimic you, it's not just mockery, it's a theft. They are trying to steal your emotional energy and authenticity to fill the void inside them. But your responsibility is to see all of this as it is, these signs of their cowardice. So you must stop taking it personally and sign up for the waiting list. What waiting list? I am opening doors to Thrive After Narcissistic Abuse membership program very soon. Something that can change your life with my and other people's support. Link is in the description. With that, let's bring this episode to an end. I will talk to you in the next one. Until then, as always, let the healing begin and continue.